Hello, everyone, and we are back with another episode of the Zach Kroll Sports Podcast, and we are here today talking about the NFC. In case you missed it yesterday on this podcast, my guy Andrew Weissner came on and we spoke about the AFC, and today Andrew is back with me along with another guest, and we're here talking about the NFC. So before we start off today, I wanted to introduce my two guests. Number one, this guy's been on the show a couple times before. He hasn't been on in a while, and I'm really excited to have him here and for him to give us his insight. Chase Zornberg joins the show. Chase, how are we doing today?
What's up? I'm excited.
Also joining us is Andrew Weissner. Andrew was with us yesterday as well. He did a great job providing us with his picks for the AFC. And in case you missed that episode yesterday, check it out. It was really great. Episode 171 of the Zach Kroll Sports Podcast. So, Andrew, happy to have you back. How are we doing today?
Doing good, man. Ready to talk about some exciting football and NFC, man. We got SAC conference talking about today.
Yeah, dude, so for sure, let's get the conversation going with the NFC, and the first division I want to talk about today is the NFC West, and we know how good this division is. We know that last year it sent 2 teams to the playoffs and could have easily sent 3, and let's talk about how many teams we think this NFC West is going to send to the playoffs this year. And my first bold prediction for this NFC West, and I don't know if you guys want to call it bold or what, but I'm going to predict that the Seattle Seahawks win this division. And I totally understand that the San Francisco 49ers are there and that they were in the Super Bowl last year and they easily could have won that big game. But when I look at the Seahawks team, I trust their quarterback more than San Francisco's. I think their defense did get better by adding Jamal Adams. They have Bobby Wagner, have KJ Wright. You know, they have some experienced guys on there. And they also got an improving offensive line. Will Dissly is healthy. He's their tight end that played really well but last year in the beginning of the season before he got hurt. Another year with DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett back. Give me the Seahawks to win the NFC North.
I will agree with you there. I'm going to take the Seahawks as well because after that Jamal Adams trade, everything changed in the NFC West. Look, man, you got George Kittle as the biggest threat in the division, I think, coming from the 49ers, and Adams is just going to lock him up, I think, in my opinion. I see it's going to be a slugfest as usual as last year, but look, we got Russell Wilson, and I take Russell Wilson over Jimmy G all the time. I don't care if he came from the New England system. I don't trust Jimmy G for anything, to be honest. That Super Bowl really showed a lot of his flaws as well. So, yes, I'm going to take the Seahawks, man. They got a stacked team, a stacked defense, like you just said. The only thing that I think is going to be an issue is they're going to miss Jadeveon Clowney. They're not going to really have that too much of a presence on the D-line, but I still see their offense really being stacked, especially after signing Josh Gordon. So they're my team to get away with the division, but it's going to be a tight slugfest.
Chase, how about you?
I'm going to take your bold prediction one step further, and not only the Seahawks going to win, but the 49ers come in third in that division.
Okay, well, tell me about the Seahawks first. What do you like about them, and why do you think they're winning the division?
I think with a healthy Chris Carson and bringing Jamal Adams, they give up a lot. That's what you guys didn't win. Everyone is finally getting healthy. Wilson's a full year. Metcalf's another year older after his big rookie year. You know, this is an experienced team with the best quarterback in the division. When the game's on the line, that's who I want the ball. That's whose hand I want the ball in.
Yeah, I agree, man. That's a good point you made, man. One thing about Seattle that I find very interesting, and I'm not saying it's really going to affect them, but it's a possible concern, is we know part of what makes the Seahawks so good is their home field advantage and those crazy 12th-man fans. And we know this year what the circumstances are, that if there are any fans at all that are going to be let into your home stadium, there are not going to be many. So is that going to possibly take away from some of the usual advantages that they have? I think that's a possible question. I think also when you look at this team, there are some holes. I know their offensive line over the last couple of years has been a little bit of a concern. They are starting one rookie at right guard, along with Cedric Ogbuehi at right tackle, who's really just not very good. I think that's going to be a spot in an area where they're really going to have to improve on. I like their defensive line. A lot of people don't, but I think their front seven specifically is improving, and I think their back four is pretty good with now Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs. So either you guys, like, are there any possible concerns that come to mind when you look at the Seahawks team?
I mean,
yeah. Oh, you got it. No, you got it, Chris.
I mean, every year Russell Wilson is running for his life, same as Deshaun Watson. Like, you've seen this before, and that is going to be a problem again. I don't see that being, I don't see them being a team that allows like 10 sacks for the year, but I think they will Russell Wilson, he is what he is. He's a magician in the backfield, and he'll evade some, he'll take some sacks, but I think ultimately he'll be okay.
Andrew?
Well, I do see that. I also do see that their defense is it's very concentrated with talent. So they don't really have an all-around talent. I feel like they have a lot of studs on the defense, but not in all positions, which I can see cornerback being an issue. They have really good safeties locked up. And like you said, Zach, you did say that their line, you do like some of the guys. I'm just going to be on the other side because I just don't see any guys that are just going to make a big impact on their team on the D-line. We got Bobby Wagner, so, that's also a good thing that they have. But I just see them as a team that's going to let up a lot of big plays because I feel like their defense doesn't have a big playmaker. They're going to be a team that's going to be bent but don't break. And I feel like with that recipe, there's always a way for a team to light them up any second,
Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I do think it's going to be improved, though. I don't think Seattle's D-line is, one of the best units in the league by any means, but I do think at the same time they do have some guys that can make some plays and get the job done. And when you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson, you don't really need, I don't think, that much of a great defense in order to win games. So we're all on the same page. We like the Seahawks to win the NFC West. Chase mentioned that he has the 49ers finishing in third place, and let's get into them for a little bit. To start off, going into last season, I thought the 49ers were actually an underrated team. I obviously didn't expect them to come out of the NFC, but I thought they were going to be pretty good. I thought with their defense that was just getting better and better, and with the quarterback in Jimmy Garoppolo, that even though he was coming back from a torn ACL the year prior, his first half a season in San Francisco, I actually really liked what I saw from him. And they just got better and better as the season went on and rode that momentum all the way to a Super Bowl. A lot of people have asked the question, is Jimmy Garoppolo good enough to be the starting quarterback of a team that could win the Super Bowl? And the thing is, even though a lot of people right now are very drawn to say no, I do think there is an argument to say yeah. And I'm going to let Chase start this off because he, really brought it up first about the 49ers. He's predicting them to finish in third. So Chase, I'll give you the floor. What are your main concerns about San Francisco this season?
I think the Super Bowl hangover is definitely real. You see it year after year where, like the Rams the year before, they completely fell off. And I think this team is, they were defeated, but they're riding high. They were the NFC Conference champions. They lost Emmanuel Sanders. They lost Marquise Goodwin. Deebo Samuel's out. So Jimmy Garoppolo is already having a hard time. Imagine what he's going to have to do with no receivers back there with just Kittle. D-line, they traded
Buckner, yeah.
They did replace him, but, how good is this replacement going to be? No one really knows. So I think they lost a lot. I think other teams in the division got better this offseason, so it can be tough for them to repeat.
Yeah, I think it's interesting when you look at their team in a couple ways. Number one, I still really like their defense. I know they got rid of Buckner. I like the kid they brought in, Kinlaw. I think he's going to be good. I think their defense is still set, one of the 5 best units in football. I also really like their head coach. I know a lot of people aren't that high on Kyle Shanahan, especially when it comes to his coaching in big games, but I think that dude is an offensive genius. And what he did last year to really help Jimmy Garoppolo and guide him, he deserves a lot of credit for that. In terms of what Chase said about them losing their receivers, I get it. They're really banged up, and I think that could definitely hurt them, especially in the beginning of the season. But at the same time, I do trust their defense and Jimmy Garoppolo for the most part to make plays. I trust their coach as well, and I don't think losing all of those guys are going to all of a sudden have them missing the playoffs. I think they're going to come in second place. I think they'll be a wild card team. I don't think everything is going to go as well for them this year as it did last year, because I think you're going to have some improvements from guys. I think we forget, last year, they were still a really young team. No one expected them to make the Super Bowl before the season started. Nick Bosa was only a rookie last year. He's only going to get better and better and better. I think their offensive line is going to be good as well, with Trent Williams bringing him in to be the new left tackle. And hopefully this new wide receiver they brought in, Brandon Ayuk, he's been banged up throughout camp as well. Hopefully he could stay healthy. But I understand. I think the concerns that Chase brought up will push San Francisco to be a second-place team, but the fact that you have them third, that's super interesting. Andrew, any comments on San Francisco for you?
Yeah, I do take them second as well because although I do know and I do want to say that the other teams in the division did get better, I still do see them as having a formula that is made to win in this division and in the league. They have a great offensive line, and I think Trent Williams is a very important addition to the team because anytime you add a big guy like him in the front 5 is just always a big thing for them. And they have that formula where they want to run and then they do this play action, and Kittle is just a mismatch for everyone. in the division besides the Seahawks. So I do see them having a formula that can really just grind teams out and just tire them out. And now I think that they have an opportunity to just take this division, even though they do have faults. I see them being second, and it's going to be really close. Like, I'm saying, like, all right.
But Chase, I'll bring the conversation back to you. So you said you had San Francisco finishing in third. Who do you have finishing in second in the NFC West, and why?
Honestly, I think it's more of a toss-up. How I see this division end up playing out, not to get too far into it, but I think the Seahawks win somewhere between 11 and 12 games. Then all three other teams win somewhere between 7, 8, or 9. So I think it's going to be a huge, come down to Week 17 game between the three of them, because I think all three of them are in that really tight knit of good but not great teams, or young in terms of the Cardinals, just a piece away. Rams are, really hit or miss. They were a game away from the playoffs last year, lost a couple pieces, but they still could come back. And the 49ers, again, I still think they're going to fall off, but I think those three teams are going to be closer together than most people realize.
Mm-hmm. So who do you think right now is the second best team in the NFC West?
Talent-wise, I think the Cardinals have enough to put it together. I think a second-year breakout from Kyler is huge. A full season of Kenyon Drake, Hopkins, then in my pick for the most underrated player in the NFL, Chandler Jones, is going to wreck teams on the defense. Patrick Peterson, Buda Baker, so they've put together a juggernaut on both sides of the ball. I think it's ready to break out.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I actually have Arizona finishing in third, but I'm on the same page as you, Chase. I think they'll win around 8 or 9 games. I think when you look at quarterbacks, and more specifically, quarterbacks that are due to break out. Andrew, we spoke about it yesterday in the AFC, where even though in the AFC, right, you have Deshaun Watson, you have Pat Mahomes, you have Lamar Jackson, you have all those guys, and in the NFC, you have a lot more unproven guys. And I think when you look at guys that are unproven, but guys that could break out this year, Kyler Murray is definitely at the top of that list. I personally wasn't too high on the hire of Cliff Kingsbury when he, got the job. He was the head coach of Texas Tech. He wasn't really able to win that much there when he had Pat Mahomes as his quarterback. But still, man, he did a nice job last year, really providing the Arizona Cardinals with some nice optimism. Now you give Kyler DeAndre Hopkins. Chase mentioned Chandler Jones. They also bring in Isaiah Simmons in the draft, one of probably the best pure defender in the draft. They just paid Buda Baker, a very underrated safety. They get Patrick Peterson back. Chase, I agree, man. I like what this Cardinal team is doing. I really like the way they've built it. I think they win about 9 games this year.
Yep.
Andrew, what's your take on the Cardinals, man? Do you take them seriously?
Look, I take the Cardinals. If you put them in any other division in football, I take them as a team that could be second in any other division, if not first. Probably second, I would say. But the reason I say that they're third is because I just look at the landscape of the division, and I just see 2 teams that are already poised to win right now. And I really have a lot of confidence in the Seahawks and Niners. And I believe that they're going to make major gains, the Cardinals. Kyler Murray is going to have a breakout year this year. I just feel like with the division, there's going to be very high standards. And if you make one mistake, if you make like an interception, or a missed throw, it's just going to cost you a game in this division. So I'm just going to believe that I don't think Kyler Murray is a finished product yet. And the addition of Hopkins really is going to be a game changer for them. But at the same time, I just see that they need one more season to climb over that hump and really be in a position where they can overcome and become first place in the division. So that's why I'm going to take them third.
Interesting. All right. So one thing about this Arizona Cardinal team for me that's very interesting, and that I could see them really breaking out, is like, as Andrew said, they're in a really tough division, but I do feel like every year there always are those handful of teams, especially with a young, unproven quarterback, that kind of does come out of nowhere and lead their team to make a good run. I don't know how good Arizona is going to be this year. All I know is the way their team is built, I really like the way they've done it. Kenyon Drake came over from Miami about midway through last year, and he was phenomenal running the ball and really, I think, improved Kyler Murray's confidence and made him more comfortable really evaluating the Cardinals' running game. They also have Fitzgerald. They have Kirk. They have Hopkins now. I have the Cardinals finishing in third, but I agree with Chase. I think it's going to be a really close race. Let's talk about the Rams a little bit. I think with the Rams, it's pretty crazy how this team was in the Super Bowl just 2 years ago, and now I feel like everyone's kind of just moved on from them. It's pretty crazy. Sean McVay was kind of, that kind of common trend, the guy that everyone wanted to hop on 2 years ago, and now really everyone is off the Sean McVay bandwagon. And one thing I'll say about Jared Goff is this. Chase, I remember you told me right before last season started, you said Jared Goff just isn't that good of a quarterback, and I don't believe in him long term. And I remember when you said that, I was like, I don't know what you're basing that on. This dude just led his team to the Super Bowl. But I'll give you credit, Chase. Last year, he really wasn't good at all. And my thing was, there was no evidence for me to think Jared Goff was going to be bad. I know the Rams paid him a lot of money, and last year, there's no doubt about it, was his worst statistical season. But one thing I'll say about the Rams is this. Last year, basically everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong, and they still win 9 games. Jared Goff has shown before that he could be a good NFL quarterback, and they still have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey on defense. So even though I have the Rams finishing in last place, I think there is a compelling argument for this team possibly to be a little bit under the radar, and also this division's really hard. I think that has a lot to do with it as well. So personally, I have the Rams finishing in 4th, but would I be shocked if they make the playoffs? Absolutely not. And I think we're all kind of on the same page here. This is the most challenging division in all of the NFL, man. It's going to be really tough. So what do you guys have to say about the Rams?
Yeah, well, I really think that the Rams are also going to be a team that's like we all said. I think that all 4 teams in the division are going to be really good teams, and no one's going to want to face them. The Rams have a crap load of firepower that they have on defense and on offense. Their offensive line isn't as bad as people think. They do have some still guys that are pretty good. I think Andrew Whitworth is on the team still, so they have a decent left tackle and.
There's some younger guys, too, that are improving.
Yeah.
Like Jared Goff's first couple years in the league, that offensive line was a real weakness. It's gotten better.
Yeah, it has been. So I like that. But the thing is, they are predicted to be in win now. And with that in fact, if I see them at the trade deadline and they're in a position to make the wild card, I see that their general manager and their front office is going to make a move to improve.
But what do they have to do? But they don't have anything to deal. That's the thing.
I know.
That's the thing, and where the problem comes in for me is that now that they've put so much money and so much stock in Jared Goff, in Aaron Donald, in Jalen Ramsey, and even in Todd Gurley, even though he's not on the team, like they paid him just a bunch of money, and they have some young guys I like. I think Cam Akers is going to be a nice impact player for them. I think Cooper Kupp is one of the more underrated receivers in football, no doubt. I still think Jared Goff can make plays, and I'm not ready to just completely give up on him yet. I think a lot of people talk about him and refer to him as like Mitch Trubisky. Like he had one bad year. Like I'm not ready to just completely give up on him. Chase, you've been quiet, man. What do you have to say?
No, I agree. I think they're a team that could, easily win 8 or 9 games, but I also do think there's a side of them that, they lost Brockers, they lost Littleton. Maybe they do win 3 or 4 games.
Littleton's he's a player, man. That's a big loss.
But I do agree with you. I think Goff, I think of him as, I think he's in a similar situation to Baker. Had a great rookie year, or a great first year. Then this year, last year was just not great. So I think this really is a huge year for him, and I'm interested to see how the running back situation plays out. Todd Gurley leaves, but I do think they have 3 or 4 guys that could easily replace him. You still got Woods, Kupp, then the defense, big name. So that is a team that should be a major player. And if by the trade deadline, they're a team that's under 500, like I think there's going to be some serious problems there, and that starts with coaching with McVay.
Yeah, I think another thing that makes this division so interesting is that there aren't many other divisions in the sport where you have 4 coaches that I think most people do feel pretty good about. I think most people think Sean McVay is a pretty good coach. Same with Pete Carroll, same with Kyle Shanahan, and Cliff Kingsbury, it's a little unknown, but last year during his first year in Arizona, he did some good work with this Cardinal team. So all 4 teams have capable quarterbacks. One other question I have for you guys about Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, do you guys flat out think he could be the quarterback of a team that wins the Super Bowl? Because last year, even though he didn't, I know the 49ers' strength last year of their team was their defense. And even though Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't great in the second half of the Super Bowl, the 49ers still had a 10-point lead that they gave up. I know it was to Patrick Mahomes. And basically the point I'm trying to make here is Jimmy Garoppolo last year could have easily been a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I think he could be it again this year. Yeah. He'll obviously have to improve, but in order for you guys to gain more confidence in him, what do you guys need to see from him?
Well, I need to see him actually without the weapons he had last year. I need to see him be the same player he was last year, and I want to see the same amount of success on him. So if he takes a big downfall this season because of his players and his his receivers and tight ends not playing up to the level they were last year, if he can't raise that level and keep it up, then I'm just going to be like, I don't know who this guy is. He's a mixed bag, and he hasn't proven himself. But, Zach, I just want to say, though, I really do see him as a quarterback that can win a Super Bowl. It's just he has to be in a position, like, on the 49ers where everything needs to go right. I don't see him being the reason they're in the Super Bowl. I see him being a game manager, but an elite game manager.
I agree, man. That's a really good point. And that's why I still believe in the 49ers this year. Like, Kyle Shanahan is a genius, man. Like, what he was, like, before last year, no one has ever heard of Raheem Mostert. You know, Matt Breida was a good running back. Like, Kyle Shanahan, what he is able to do, putting all of his receivers in motion, man, like, that dude is a football offensive genius. And there aren't many other coaches I would rather have than him. But I agree, man, Andrew. Yeah. That's a good point. Like, Jimmy G, if you put him in a good situation, I do think he's good enough to be a Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah, and one more thing is, like, they have a really good system around there. So they have, like, this zone offensive running scheme where it's just really hard to stop. It's left and right. And George Kittle is a game changer in that offensive scheme because they run one way, and if it's play action, the tight end just goes the opposite way. And he's so fast and talented that he can make space. So
and he can block too. Yeah, and he can block too.
They have great offense. Yeah, he can block, run block, and they have a decent offensive line like McGlinchey and some other guys that are still pretty good. Yeah, I mean they got a good scheme going there.
Yeah,
very hard to stop.
So Andrew and I are both in agreement of the order being Seattle 1, San Francisco 2, the Cardinals 3, and the Rams 4. Chase, any other last words on any of these 4 teams before we move on?
Yeah, I'm just gonna go back to that Jimmy Super Bowl conversation. And my problem with Jimmy is, through no fault of his own, there are so many great quarterbacks in the league now. Mahomes. I'm not high on Lamar, you know that well, but, you know, he still is there. Hopefully Drew Lock, Brock.
Okay, but let me say this, though. All the quarterbacks you're naming right now are in the NFC. I think when you look at the NFC, or in the AFC, I think when you look at the NFC, like, there are so many unproven quarterbacks that I think Jimmy G has an opportunity. I know he's older than all of them, but I think he has an opportunity to separate himself a little bit from some of the other unproven quarterbacks in the league.
I also think Kyle Shanahan, he has had some great moments as a coach, but this is now 2 huge Super Bowl teams that I'm not even going to blame Jimmy. That play calling was pretty rough both games. You're not going to run that ball. Like, they didn't run the ball enough. So can he as a coach, that's tough to lose 2 Super Bowls. Like, that takes a toll on you. Like, I don't know if they can come back from that as a team.
Yeah. I think the first one, yeah, and like you spoke about the Super Bowl hangover, but like I'm not going to sit here and say that Falcons Super Bowl is really going to have that much of an effect on this year 49ers teams, you know?
Losing 2 Super Bowls in the way that they lost it, blowing those leads late.
There's definitely a shadow over him that he needs to get over, but I believe in him, man. I do. I think people are a little too tough on him. In that Super Bowl, man, I just think Patrick Mahomes happened. He was the best player on the field. There was very little they could have done, you know? And I said that since the beginning.
I completely agree with that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think they might. Could Jimmy Garoppolo make a Super Bowl? 100%. Can I see him beating Patrick Mahomes there ever? Probably not. Like, I just don't see him as a Super Bowl winning quarterback only because of the league he's in right now with Patrick Mahomes literally in a league of his own.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to go down as the greatest quarterback of all time, but that'll happen later.
Yeah, we'll get to that discussion on another day.
Tough to watch, but he is even better than anyone could have possibly imagined him being so far.
All right, so that will do it for the NFC West.